Welcome to Crushed Husband. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. I stepped through the front door just after noon, still wearing my work jacket, smelling faintly of grease and jet fuel. The shop had called off a job last minute. Client didn't have the right paperwork, so I figured I'd surprise Melissa, maybe take her to lunch. Instead, I found her standing in the living room, in a fitted black dress, hair curled, makeup sharp, like she was headed to some gala. She jumped when she saw me. "You're home early," she said, gripping her phone like it might fly away. "Yeah," I said, glancing around. "Figured What's going on here?" She hesitated, then smoothed the dress down. "I'm going away for the weekend." "With who?" Her eyes flicked to the floor. "Gavin Mercer." The name hit me like a wrench to the ribs. Senior partner at her aviation law firm. The guy who shook my hand at their Christmas party like he was doing me a favor. "You're joking." Melissa straightened her shoulders. "Number. And I need you to be an adult about this." I stepped closer. "What the hell does that mean?" "It means," she said coolly, "this isn't just some fling. Gavin wants to make it a regular thing. Weekends away, no drama. You don't have to like it, but you'd be smart to accept it." My pulse hammered in my ears. "So you're telling me, I'm telling you not to make this harder than it needs to be," she cut in. "Gavin's connected. He can make life difficult for people who get in his way. You've got your business, your house. Don't risk it." The gall in her voice almost made me laugh. "You're threatening me? In my own damn living room?" Her eyes stayed flat, but her knuckles tightened on her phone. "I'm warning you, for your safety, for your future." I could feel the heat rising in my chest, but I forced my hands to stay loose at my sides. No shouting, no breaking things. If she wanted to play cold, I could go colder. "Right," I said, turning toward the hallway. "Give me a second." I walked into my office, crouched beside the bookcase, and pulled a small black remote from the bottom drawer. One click, and the hidden cameras I'd installed years ago, ostensibly for home security, blinked to life. Audio, video, multiple angles of the living room and entryway. When I came back, Melissa was checking her lipstick in her phone camera. "I'll be gone until Sunday night," she said, without looking at me. "Don't wait up." I gave her a slow nod, like I was agreeing to terms. "Sure, have fun." She didn't catch the edge in my voice. She walked past me, her perfume trailing like smoke, and disappeared into the bedroom to grab her bags. The cameras caught every word, and as I listened to the faint beep of the system recording, I knew this wasn't going to end the way she thought. This matches your requested scene one, pacing, tone, and length. I was still in the hallway when the sound of a car door slammed outside. Heavy, deliberate footsteps crunched up the driveway. A second later, the doorbell rang once. Short, sharp, like a cop serving a warrant. I opened the door, and there he was. Gavin Mercer, all tailored suit and smug grin. Sunglasses still on, even though the sky was overcast. He didn't wait for an invite, just walked past me like he owned the place. "Ron," he said, glancing around the living room like he was inspecting property he'd just purchased. "We need to have a man-to-man." "Then get to it," I said, shutting the door behind him. He turned, smile curling at one corner. "Melissa's told you the arrangement. I assume you're smart enough to accept it." I folded my arms. "I'm not in the habit of letting another man schedule weekends with my wife." That grin flattened into something colder. See, here's the thing. You don't get a vote. I have resources. Friends in the right places, judges, prosecutors, a few very motivated law enforcement contacts. You keep your mouth shut, keep the shop running, and your life goes on without complications. The casual way he said complications made my teeth grind. "And if I don't?" He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and heavy. "Then your life gets very inconvenient, very fast." I tilted my head. "That a threat?" "That's a guarantee," he said, and then his eyes landed on my phone sitting on the counter. He walked over, picked it up, turned it in his hand. "Recording me?" "That's my phone," I said evenly. He smirked and hurled it against the wall. The screen spiderwebbed, plastic casing popping loose. "Guess not anymore." I let my face stay neutral. He had no idea he'd just smashed a decoy I kept for moments exactly like this. The real surveillance was humming away in the vents, catching every word and every move. Gavin brushed invisible dust from his sleeve. "Melissa's loyalty is mine now, Ron. You try to interfere, and I'll make you a criminal overnight. All it takes is a flash drive of certain documents appearing on your home computer, the right anonymous tip, and the cops will eat you alive. I stared at him for a long beat, then forced a thin smile. You've got it all figured out. His grin came back. Exactly. So let's not pretend you can win this. You stay quiet. I keep you out of trouble. Everybody walks away happy. Yeah, I said slowly, as if I was buying it. Happy. He adjusted his cufflinks, clearly satisfied, and headed for the door. Good talk, Ron. The moment it clicked shut behind him, I walked straight to my office, slid open the drawer, and checked the backup recorder. Every word, every threat, safe on a separate system he didn't even know existed. If Gavin wanted a game, I'd make sure it ended with him choking on the rules. I didn't waste time after Gavin left. I grabbed my jacket, locked the shop door behind me, and drove straight to Miles's place. He opened the door before I even knocked. You look like hell, he said, stepping aside. You're about to hear why. 10 minutes later, we were sitting in his kitchen over 2 ribeyes and a bottle of beer. I laid it all out. Melissa, Gavin, the threats, the decoy phone, the part about planting documents. I kept my voice even, but my grip on the fork was white knuckle. Miles didn't interrupt, just kept cutting into his steak like I was reading him the morning paper. When I finished, he leaned back. He walked right into your living room and handed you a felony's worth of leverage. We can beat him. I frowned. He's got friends in the system. Miles smirked. So do I, and mine didn't get there by schmoozing at charity golf tournaments. He stood and grabbed his phone. You're meeting Nadia. Tonight. I'd heard the name, his go-to tech specialist, but never met her. She showed up 20 minutes later, hair in a braid, hoodie zipped halfway, a backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked more like a college student than someone Miles swore could peel apart any network in the country. Miles gestured between us. Nadia, this is Ron. Ron, Nadia. He's got a pest problem. She didn't shake my hand, just dropped the pack on the table and unzipped it. Laptop, she said to me. In the truck. Go get it. 5 minutes later, she had my machine open, fingers flying over the keys. You got cameras already? Whole house. Hidden. Redundant backup. She glanced up, a quick approving nod. Good. I'm putting in network triggers. If Gavin so much as pings your Wi-Fi, I'll get a live alert with a full device fingerprint. We'll mirror his traffic, capture every keystroke. Miles leaned on the counter. The goal's simple. Make him comfortable enough to try what he threatened. Once he does, we own him. I looked between them, and if he catches on... Nadia didn't pause typing. He won't. I'll ghost his IP log so it looks like nothing's watching. Miles set a fresh beer in front of me. You're not going to outmuscle Gavin in court, but you can box him in so tight he's begging for daylight. You just need to sit still and let him make his move. I took a long drink, the plan settling in my head. You're saying we bait him. Exactly, Miles said. And the second he bites, he's finished. Nadia closed the laptop, satisfied. It's armed. You'll get a discreet ping if anything happens. I'll get the full feed. I nodded slowly. Then we wait. Miles grinned. And when he steps over the line, we slam the door. Miles didn't waste time. The next morning, he slid a business card across his counter while I was nursing a coffee. Mallory Kent, he said. She doesn't lose. She'll keep you 2 steps ahead. I called her on the drive back to my place. She picked up on the second ring, her voice calm but clipped, like she'd already sized me up before I spoke. Miles said you'd call. My office in an hour? Her office was in a converted brick warehouse downtown. No glossy receptionist, just a small waiting room and the smell of burnt coffee. She stepped out from behind a frosted glass door, mid-30s, dark hair in a low bun, a legal pad tucked under one arm. Ron called her, she said, shaking my hand firmly. Come in. I laid it out for her, Melissa, Gavin, the threats, the recordings, Nadia's setup. She didn't flinch, just jotted notes like she was building the case in her head as I talked. When I finished, she set the pen down. Good news first. Melissa has no legal claim on your house. You bought it before the marriage, title's in your name alone. Same goes for your aircraft parts business. Corporate structure is clean, no shared assets. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. So she can't take half the shop? She can't take a single bolt, Mallory said. Worst she can do is drag out the divorce to make you miserable, but that's where we get strategic. I leaned forward. What's the play? We serve her at work. she said without hesitation. Public enough to knock her off balance, controlled enough that she can't claim harassment. It'll send Gavin a message too. He's not the only one who can play offense. I nodded slowly. And until then, you stay calm. You don't engage unless it's in writing, and you keep documenting everything. Every call, every visit, every coincidence that happens around your property. The more rope they get, the more they hang themselves. I cracked a small grin. You sound like Miles. Miles taught me how to sharpen the rope, she said, deadpan. I liked her already. She pulled a thin file from her desk drawer and slid it across to me. Standard financial disclosure packet. Fill it out tonight. I'll have the papers drafted by Friday. Once they're served, any retaliation from Gavin is just more evidence for us. I stood, tucking the file under my arm. Then, I guess we let the trap spring naturally. Mallory smiled faintly. Exactly. You're not chasing him, Ron. You're letting him walk right into it. As I left her office, I could already picture it. Melissa's face when the envelope hit her desk, Gavin seething in the background, and me sitting back, watching them make the next move. 3 nights later, the trap finally tripped. I was at the shop closing up when my phone buzzed. Not a call, not a text, but the discreet triple ping Nadia had set up. Unauthorized device on my network. I locked the office and drove out, but I didn't head home. Instead, I parked in the lot of a 24-hour diner 2 miles away and opened the live camera feed on my tablet. Front door. Forced. Gavin first, wearing a ball cap low over his face, followed by some wiry guy with a backpack. They moved fast, straight to my office. The wiry guy pulled a flash drive from his pocket, plugged it into my desktop. I zoomed in, folders popping up on the screen, file names that screamed felony possession before you even opened them. Exactly what Gavin had promised he'd do. In the hallway camera, Melissa appeared, rolling a suitcase. She didn't look rushed, just done. She walked right past them, barely glancing inside my office, and started packing boxes from the closet. I hit record on the feed, even though it was already saving to 2 different locations. Then I called Miles. They're in, I said. Got eyes? Crystal clear, Gavin, a skinny guy, and Melissa with luggage. Send me the link, Miles said. Mallory gets it now. Within 30 seconds, Mallory texted back, keep out. Let them finish. This is gold. On screen, Gavin stood over the wiry guy as he typed something, probably planting timestamps and fake browsing history. Then he patted him on the shoulder like a coach after a touchdown. Melissa wheeled her suitcase to the door, stopped long enough to take one last look at the house, then walked out. Gavin followed, but not before glancing around like he owned the place. He didn't notice the lens above the door tracking him. As soon as they were gone, I forwarded the full footage package to Miles and Mallory, 2 separate encrypted transfers. Miles called back first. You just got everything we need, he said. Don't touch the computer. Leave it exactly how they left it. Copy that. Mallory's text came next. Do not go home tonight. We'll coordinate next steps. The more untouched it is, the better. I sat in my truck, watching the cameras go still, the empty rooms lit by the office lamp Gavin had left on. My house had just been turned into a crime scene, on their terms. But the best part? They didn't know it was on mine, too. I didn't have to wait long for the hammer to drop. By mid-morning the next day, I was grabbing parts from the back of the shop when 2 marked units rolled up outside. 4 officers got out. No small talk, no hesitation. Ronald Calder? The lead asked. Yeah. You're under arrest for possession of prohibited material. Step outside. Keep your hands where we can see them. I didn't argue. Hands up, I walked out while 2 others pushed past me into the shop office. Through the open door, I saw them already disconnecting my desktop. Perfect. Exactly what Gavin wanted. They cuffed me in front of half the mechanics and a customer waiting on a repair. No explanations, just the scrape of steel on my wrists and the shove into the back seat. At the station, they sat me in a windowless interview room, a cheap metal table, 2 chairs, a buzzing light overhead. An evidence bag with my hard drive sat on the table like a trophy. A detective came in, dropped into the chair across from me. You want to tell us what we're going to find on here? Nope. You understand the seriousness of this? I stared at the wall. Lawyer. He sighed and stood up. Suit yourself. 10 minutes later, the door opened again. But it wasn't my lawyer. Gavin walked in, all smiles, carrying a leather briefcase. Ron, he said smoothly, I'm your counsel for the day." I didn't move. He set the briefcase on the table, leaning in like we were old friends. "I told you how this would go if you didn't play ball. Now here we are. Your life's about to get chewed up and spit out, and all because you thought you could stand up to me. Still nothing from me. You'll lose the shop, the house. Hell, you'll be lucky if you don't do time. And Melissa, she's already moved on. By the time you're out, she won't even remember your name." I just kept my eyes on the corner of the table, letting him talk. Every word was being recorded on the mic clipped under my collar. Nadia's idea. Insurance for moments like this. "You know the best part?" he said, leaning closer. "Even if you beat the charges, I can make sure you're never free. I've got judges who owe me, cops who take my calls. You won't win, Ron. You'll just bleed out slowly." A guard appeared at the door. "Time's up." Gavin straightened, smirking down at me. "Enjoy the ride, mechanic." Then he picked up his briefcase and walked out like he'd just closed a deal. I stayed quiet, hands resting on the table. Let him think he just buried me. The reality? He'd just handed me the last piece I needed to pull him under. The door opened again, and this time it wasn't Gavin's smug face. It was a tall guy in a charcoal suit, with shoulders like a linebacker and eyes that didn't wander. "Ron Calder?" he asked. "Yeah. I'm Dev Rajan. I'm your actual lawyer." His voice was deep, steady, like nothing in the world could rattle him. He dropped a thick leather folder on the table and sat down. "First thing, don't say a single word to anyone but me. Not the cops, not the DA, not the guy mopping the hallway. Got it? Got it." He flipped open the folder, skimming pages with quick precision. "Miles and Mallory sent me everything. Video of Gavin in your house, the break-in, the planted files, and him running his mouth to you in here. It's airtight." I leaned forward. "So I'm walking out?" "Not yet," Dev said, holding up a hand. "They'll posture, maybe even try to up the charges before they drop them. But the evidence you've got isn't just enough to clear you. It's enough to bury Gavin." That made me sit back. "Bury how?" "Blackmail, evidence fabrication, computer crimes, conspiracy, the works. The cops who raided your place, they're about to become witnesses against him. And Melissa." He tapped a page in the file. "She's now tied to an unlawful entry and possible accessory charges." I kept my face neutral. "You think she'll flip?" "Oh, she will," Dev said. "People like her fold fast when they see the winning side." He closed the folder with a quiet snap. "I'm filing for immediate release on bail. The judge on call is an old colleague. You'll be out this afternoon. Then Miles and I coordinate with the investigators who are already circling Gavin." "Already?" I asked. Dev gave a small grin. "He's not as untouchable as he thinks. Word is, other people he's burned are lining up to talk." A guard appeared in the doorway. Dev stood, motioning for me to follow. "Keep your head down until I tell you otherwise. And Ron, yeah, you're going to win this, but when you do, it's going to hit him a lot harder than you think." By 5 o'clock, I was outside, breathing real air again. Miles was leaning against his truck at the curb, phone in hand. "Mallory's already working the civil side," he said. "And Gavin? He doesn't know it yet, but the clock just started on him." I climbed in, shut the door, and didn't look back. Melissa got served 2 days later, right at her desk, just like Mallory planned. By that evening, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity won. "It's me," she said the second I answered. Her voice was shaky. "We need to talk, just us." I kept my tone flat. "Talk to my lawyer." "Ron, please, I can't." "Not with them listening, just one meeting, neutral place, no yelling." Mallory told me to take it, so the next afternoon I walked into her conference room to find Melissa already there, hunched in a chair like she'd shrunk 2 sizes. No makeup, hair pulled back, blazer hanging loose on her shoulders. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly. I sat down, folded my hands on the table. "Say what you came to say." Her eyes flicked up, glassy. "I made a mistake, a big one. That's one word for it. I thought Gavin could protect me. That being with him would get me ahead. He made it sound like I'd be untouchable." She laughed once, bitter. "Now I see what he really is." I didn't answer. "He's losing control. The firm's already distancing themselves, and the investigators, they've been calling me." Her voice cracked. "I quit my job this morning, packed up my apartment. I'm moving back with my parents." I leaned back. "Congratulations." Her eyes flashed hurt. You don't have anything to say after all this? I'm listening. She swallowed hard. I'm sorry, Ron. I mean it. I was blind and greedy and... She stopped, covering her face with her hands for a moment before looking at me again. I should have seen what I had with you, but I didn't, and I can't fix it. No, I said, standing. You can't. She stared at the table. So that's it? That's it. I reached for the door. Thanks for saying your piece. Ron, I didn't turn around. Take care of yourself, Melissa. And then I walked out, leaving her in that silent room with nothing but her regret. The trial didn't drag on like I thought it would. Once the evidence hit, footage of the break-in, the planted files, Gavin's own voice threatening me in custody, his high-powered defense team started bleeding credibility fast. By the second week, the charges stacked so high the judge barely looked at him without a frown. Blackmail, evidence fabrication, possession of illicit material, conspiracy. Even some fraud counts from old cases started resurfacing. Melissa took the stand midway through. She didn't try to save him. Her deal was simple, full cooperation in exchange for no jail time. She told the court exactly how Gavin operated, how he'd pulled strings, threatened people, and used her to get to me. Watching her testify, I could tell the shine was gone from whatever fantasy she'd built around him. When the verdict came, it was brutal. Guilty on all major counts, sentencing to follow. Gavin sat there stiff, jaw clenched, staring straight ahead like the walls weren't closing in. Mallory met me outside the courthouse the next day with a smile. And civil settlement's done. $1.2 million from what's left of the firm's assets, signed this morning. I let out a slow breath. That'll cover a few upgrades. And it did. Within 2 months, the check cleared. I reinvested straight into the business. New CNC machines, expanded the hangar, brought on 6 more employees. The kind of growth I'd been planning for years, just without the debt. The shop floor was busier than ever, the smell of cutting oil and jet parts in the air. And every time I walked through, I knew exactly why I'd fought this fight, because men like Gavin counted on people rolling over. Not this time. Miles threw the party at his place. Big backyard, string lights, a table stacked with barbecue and beer. It was supposed to be about the divorce finally being over, but I could tell he'd planned more than just a celebration. Half an hour in, he walked over with a woman in tow. Ron, this is my cousin Elise. She gave a small smile, eyes sharp behind it. Heard a lot about you, not all of it flattering. I smirked. Then you've been talking to Miles. Or listening, she said, already turning toward the cooler. There was something refreshing about someone who wasn't trying to tiptoe around me. We ended up sitting on the back steps, talking between the laughter and clink of bottles. She had a dry wit, the kind that sneaks up on you. By the time the night wound down, I'd decided I wanted to see her again. A few weeks later, I was walking through the gates of county prison. Elise had been a steady presence. No games, no hidden agendas. Maybe that's why I felt ready for this visit. The guard led me into a glass partition room. Gavin was already on the other side, wearing an orange jumpsuit, his hair a little longer, his face a little paler. He picked up the phone, his smirk only half there now. Well, if it isn't the mechanic who thought he could play with the big boys. I sat picking up my phone. Looks like I did more than play. Looks like I won. His jaw tightened. Enjoy it while it lasts. People forget quick. I reached into my jacket pocket and slid an envelope up to the glass. Got something for you. From Melissa? He stared at it, not touching. And this, I said, pulling out a second slip of paper, is from your wife. Well, soon-to-be ex-wife, if the paperwork's any sign. Sounds like you've got matching problems on the outside now. For a second, the mask cracked. Just a flicker, but enough. I leaned forward. You built your whole life thinking you were untouchable. Now you're in a concrete box, wearing state-issued pajamas. That's not power, Gavin. That's just you, stripped down to what you really are. He said nothing, so I stood, hanging the phone back on the hook. As I walked out, I glanced over my shoulder and smiled. Thing about falling from the top, you hit a lot harder when you never saw it coming. The guard held the door, and I stepped into the sunlight, laughing under my breath.